All right, we're live. So, I have a new book I'm writing, and who knows? Uh, it's still the camera bothers me. But, anyways, I have a new book that I'm writing, and this time I'm gonna try to write this book with no help from a ghostwriter, AI, or whatever. Just well, maybe AI with definition and Google with dictionaries, terms, and all of that, and other references. But I will not have AI write this book for me. So for now, I don't have a specific title of the book, but um, we begin, and I just want to share basically what I have so far, right? So the book begins discussing the three types of suffering that we have to go through as human beings. Okay? So, three types of suffering that we have to go through as human beings while we live in this world. So, and it's important to know this because, well, the overall goal is, to see the end of it. Why do we have to suffer? What does it mean to suffer? And all of that, So, uh, and all well, it's all going to point down to that, right? So the meaning behind suffering, why we suffer, and basically the kinds of suffering that we have to go through. So very interesting thing. Okay. So, but take note, the book is not about suffering. Okay. So it just starts there. So the first is unjust suffering. Okay. Unjust suffering. So although in a way it's also debatable, right? But what this means is that when we are born into the world, unlike animals, where some could run, some could do some extraordinary feat the moment that they are born, right? We, as human beings, we're more flexible. We are put in the world, and our environment basically shapes who we grow up ultimately into. Okay. But that also means that the moment that we are born, we are in a state of vulnerability. Number one, we're vulnerable when we are at the mercy of our environment. So there's a debate going on, right? There's a debate going on with whether or not we truly choose the parents that we are born into, the family that we are born into on a spiritual level, versus um, being born because not by your choice, right? There's an incoming debate about that, but ultimately, here's the truth of the matter. The moment that we are born, we're born in an environment that we are not in control of. Okay, how our parents decide to raise us, how our grandparents, how our environment, how the people in the past ultimately decides how they want to live the kind of world that we are living in is not by our choice, right? The laws that they choose, the culture that they choose, and in some way or form, our um, our personal identity will have to mesh, or that we will either have to mesh, adapt to that world, or choose to fight against that world, right? So there are people who adapt easily, and there are people who purposely choose to go against that. So the environment, you are placed in an environment where you have no control over, and that means you are put, and this is by luck, you know. If you're born into a family that nurtures you, that provides for your physical needs, money, food, education, and all of that, but are not there on an emotional level, or maybe you're in a poorer family where love is abundant, but you have to share your food with siblings. You have to share a bed with other people that were also born within your lifeline, within your lifetime, right? So, unjust suffering. You're placed in a world where you are not in control of, and you have to grow from that. Okay. Now, from here, the second type of suffering, once you become stronger a bit, now that you have a bit more choice in the matter, now that you can walk, now that you can read, now that um, you have the power of choice. Now, the second type of suffering is suffering for growth, personal growth. So, um, and this is where um, stuff where you start to initiate things. Um, for example, this is where you realize that to become to become popular, you need to be in a certain clique or a certain group of people. For you to excel in school, you need to start studying. For you to excel in martial arts or sports, you have to start taking the basics seriously. You need to start looking for a mentor, you know, realizing that life does not come easy, but there are certain choices that you can make where there is a price to pay for for growth, right? And this form of growth that I'm talking about is you trying to take more power into your life, right? More power into your life. So, and for some people, this is where they start deciding, oh, hey, you know what? I grew up in an environment like this. I don't want to be in this environment anymore. So for me to get to the next level, maybe I need a degree. Maybe I need to study more. Maybe I need to start learning this. Or maybe, for freedom, I don't see the value in being part of a uh, in a culture where I have to pay first before I start earning money. So you know what? I'm gonna start working hard right now, save up, and then get see where it takes me. Hard manual labor, or maybe I don't want to do that. Stealing is also a skill. Okay, so if I'm caught, then I have to face the consequences. But if I'm not caught, then I am rewarded for my actions. Okay? All of that is fair game. This is the world we live in. So you from here, you grow and adopt a sort of mindset that shape your present. And it's not always healthy. It's not always healthy. And because sometimes from here on, you start you start to associate the events in your past that have hurt you and have created walls, created ways to protect yourself. And this is where ego comes in, right? So we're unlike animals. We're not born into instinct. We don't just instinctively live. We think about how we want to live, how life should be, right? And ego, it comes in a place where sometimes ego, or this is where you start blaming your environment. Hey, I I'm not respected enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not loved enough. I'm not this enough, but I deserve this. So which brings us to the third transformation. Okay, because when we stick to that phase in our life, the place in our life where we seek what we want, seek, like we're trying to grasp what we lack of, what we're lacking. um, it starts to create, um, well, another ending cycle, really, because you don't get what you want, you attract what you want. Okay, money comes to people who are prepared for money. Okay, the money does not go to people um, who are yearning for it. If because if that were true, then every poor person in the world would probably have um, more than enough, right? Money does not come to someone who yearns for it. Okay, it goes to people who are ready for it. Same with relationships, same with everything else. So if you're in that state of ego where you want something, you're working towards something, then at the end of the day, I always believe that hard work is the best type of thing that you can do. At least that way you're earning the right to deserve what you desire. But ultimately, sometimes it gets to a point where somehow, maybe earning seven figures and working this hard is not worth it. Maybe having to keep that supermodel wife is not worth the effort in keeping the marriage, or something like that. The effort it takes to keep a high paying job mentally, physically, emotionally may not be enough or may not be healthy for you to keep in the long run. So, and which is why, you know, the last type of suffering for transformation is important. Because from here, the type of suffering now is you having to face your dark side, you having to face your ego, and just not fighting the shadow. It's not you fighting the shadow, it's you learning to love what you have become. It's you learning to love what you have become. And sometimes you become monsters along the way. In your pursuit of your dreams, you become a monster. um, and before truly reaching or receiving your dream, you have to come to terms with that and actually forgive your transgressions that happened. you know so if it's suffering for transformation, it looks something like this. If it's money, it's learning to let money go so that money could could transform into what it truly is, and it's flow. It's abundance, it's a mindset. Money is a mindset. How much you have in your bank account is just a representation of what's in your mind. And if you're holding on to something, and that means you're thinking that, hey, this is my limitation, this is how I view myself, this is my limit for existing. And that's not true. By letting go, you allow money to flow, your mind to flow, and in turn you allow more abundance into your life. you know this is why people who spend, for some reason, always have enough to spend on stuff they don't need, right? So there's that. For what does that look like in relationships? In relationships, you have to be able to come face to face with fear, with being vulnerable, with being hurt. Not physically hurt, okay? That's abuse. But hurt um, on an emotional level, where, what is love if not vulnerability, right? Um, I mean, not to get all religious, but Christ died for people, whether he's a madman or the Son of God, right? He died for not himself, but for other people, right? So how the heck do you top that? Uh, what else? In terms of, and that is especially true with friendship as well, right? You cannot be truly friends with people until you are able to bare your soul to them, right? And hopefully, in terms of that, they are able to do the same for you. Okay, that is suffering for transformation, right? Hello, Miss MJ, right? And spirituality, what does that look like? You're able to come face to face with God or yourself. Ultimately, when you're coming face to face with the Almighty or yourself, you're able to see the shadow and also accept the shadow. So who knows? All right. So that's just an overview. Three types of suffering. Um, I've hopefully, I'm making a commitment to at least write one paragraph a day, just one paragraph a day. And hopefully I can get this damn book finished soon. So long as I can do that, right? So what's funny as well as this is that I've with other books that I've written and other stuff that I've written, how many of you have ever written something and then decided to just delete or throw it all away, right? Type me in the comments. So me, I've done that my whole life. So with this particular book, I have no title yet, um, but it's probably going to be called the Luminarium or something close. I have no title yet, but this time I just gave myself permission to like bear it all down, you know, and not delete anything and see what happens at the end of the year. Now, if something valuable does come up after this, we're gonna publish the damn thing. If not, then we're gonna publish it the damn thing anyway. Okay, so that's gonna be the type of book this is. All right, so this is going to be interesting. So that's just the introduction, the three types of suffering according to the Luminarium. So that's it. See you guys next time. Thank you, Miss MJ, for watching. Martin, thank you for watching as well, sending it to our GC. And yeah, see you guys.